Mi sveglio nella luce, mi sveglio nell'amore, nel silenzio del cuore, vivo sempre nel Signore. Mi sveglio nella luce, mi sveglio nell'amore, nel silenzio del cuore, vivo sempre nel Signore. Mi sveglio nella luce, mi sveglio nell'amore, nel silenzio del cuore, vivo sempre nel Signore. Mi sveglio nella luce, mi sveglio nell'amore, nel silenzio del cuore, vivo sempre Facciamo un altro canto prima dell'inizio ufficiale, così forse qualcun altro arriva. E questo canto, le parole sono: colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono Om. Colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono Om. E vogliamo proprio cercare di colmarci di questa presenza divina, di questo suono. Colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono. Colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono. Colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e il cuore con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e il cuore con il sacro suono. Colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono, colma il corpo e la mente con il sacro suono, colma il corpo ed il cuore con il sacro suono. Colma il corpo concentrarti per un momento nel punto fra le due sopracciglia e proprio sintonizzarti con questo suono divino, la vibrazione della coscienza divina, la dimora della gioia, della luce, della calma. Con la coscienza manifestata in ogni grande santo, ogni grande maestro. E se vuoi prova anche per un attimo a visualizzare Swami Kriyananda, perché vogliamo celebrare non così tanto il momento del suo trapasso, quanto la sua presenza viva. Adesso, in questo momento.
In the here and now. And behind his eyes, try to feel this divine consciousness, this light, which enters into your body and from the spiritual eye expands. And let's pray together into this consciousness. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗙𝗓𝗓, Swami Kriyananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all traditions, and Swami Kriyananda, we invoke your presence in our consciousness, in our heart, in our life. Beloved Swami Kriyananda, help us to live with open heart, to perceive your touch, your light in our hearts, so that you can leave a footprint that we can follow toward the infinite, toward the light that you always channeled for us. Oh, Divine Mother, make my soul your temple, make of my heart your altar, and made my love your home. Om Shanti. Amen. Good evening and welcome everyone to this evening in which we want to celebrate the life of Swami Kriyananda, but overall his legacy. As Swami always started with listening some chants of the choir, which can help us to perceive the light that he manifested through his music.
risveglio per salutare il sol quando esco nella città.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te. Quando rido e quando piango nei malintesi e nell'amor.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Sono tuo per l'eternità.
Tuo per l'eternità, nella sconfitta, nella vittoria, nella vita intorno a me.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te. Nel lavoro e nel riposo, nella gioia e nel dolore.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Nel silenzio del mio cuor, Signor, penserò solo a te.
Sono tuo per l'eternità.
Tuo per l'eternità. Sono tuo per l'eternità. Tuo per l'eternità. Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh.
It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star to shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Luce divina splende, ci darà la libertà dal sogno di ogni male, nella gioia la verità. O Dio d'amor lontan da te, il cuore senza sol, ma se una volta vieni tu, la notte diverrà di. Thy light within us shining, as shone where freedom lies. From earthly walls confining to soaring spirit skies. How oft thy ship we strayed apart, now guided by thy word. In inner freedom of the heart, our night has turned to day. La luce divina splende, ci darà la libertà dal sogno di ogni male, nella gioia la verità. O Dio d'amor lontan da te, il cuore senza sol, ma se una volta vieni tu, la notte diverrà di.
Allora, di nuovo buonasera a tutti. Grazie. Ok. Allora, di nuovo buonasera a tutti. È difficile sapere come iniziare
It's hard to
a
start
onorare una vita che ha
to honor a life which
toccato e
touched
che ha cambiato
and changed so deeply life of so many people. Swami Kriyananda was a great man, a great gentleman. I think that he's the most gentle person I have ever met, but he was even more than this. He was a great soul, a great saint. Because when you were in his presence, it was much more easier to perceive the divine presence inside of yourself. And something which I noticed is that when people were around him, even if these people never, even if it was the first time that they met Swami, everybody felt that he was his best friend, because he saw that divine part in each person. He could see everything, of course, but what he focused on was the divine part. So this evening is called Walking on the Footsteps of Swami Kriyananda. There is a story which happened at the end of his life. One person of the Education for Life school wanted to make a fundraising, and so he wanted to make the footprints of Swami's feet, so that with that image it could be done like something that could be sold as a fundraising. So this is Swami's footprint, and it's very meaningful, especially for us here tonight, but for everyone who somehow were touched or elevated by something that Swami did or said or created. He created so many things. He wrote 150 books, 400 chants, founded many communities, and created 2 movies, TV series, many things, but none of this defines who he was, and none of this defines his true legacy. Because his definition for himself was a disciple, and he was a great disciple. And his legacy is each of us. Every single people who was touched and who were changed by meeting Swami Kriyananda. It doesn't matter if it was before or after he left his body. So tonight we want to dedicate this evening to feel this legacy, to feel the change which he created in the heart and consciousness of people. So you will hear many people who spent their own lives with Swami, and also from youngest generation who arrived here at the end of his life, or even when after he left his body. And the interesting thing is that when I was thinking about this evening, I realized that I knew Swami for 3.5 years, which is very little, and the external contact which I had with him, I can count maybe on the fingers of 2 hands the direct contacts which I had with him, but there is not even a part of my life which was not changed and defined by his presence, his guidance, his example, and above all, from the light which he channeled, the light of Divine Mother and his Master. So I'm sure that I'm not the only one. There are so many people who feel the same, and also people who never met Swami in his body. So this evening we want to perceive this feeling, but also how can we follow Swami on his light, on his footprints of light, and to perceive what he was for many souls for many years, and how can we do the same for other people. First of all, we will listen to 𝗙𝗟𝗢𝗓𝗓, who was with Swami many years, but before this we will feel one on the footprint of light which Swami left us. So please stand up. I think that you all know the super consciousness exercises, so we want to practice it. How can we follow his footsteps? Close your eyes. Focus on the point between the eyebrows. And when we do the affirmation, please do the affirmation from this point. Walk and say, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready. I'm awake and ready, 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 I'm awake and ready. That's wonderful. I see that. And now I am positive, energetical, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetical, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetic, 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 enthusiastic. Now close your eyes and try to stay motionless. Keep your focus in the point between the eyebrows and try to feel this joy, inner joy, which is Ananda. If you can feel this joy, this Ananda, what you are feeling is Swami's footsteps. Steps of light which is flowing through him. Sit down. And now we will listen to 𝗙𝗟𝗢𝗓𝗓.
Good evening, everyone.
Buonasera a tutti.
When thinking of following in Swamiji's footsteps,
Pensando al fatto di seguire i passi di Swami,
that was quick. I think of when I came to Ananda. I was 26.
ho pensato quando sono arrivata ad Ananda ed avevo 26 anni.
150 years ago or so.
150 anni fa più o meno.
And everyone that was there and that came after me in those years was very young, very inexperienced.
E tutti quelli che erano già lì e anche quelli che sono arrivati subito dopo in quegli anni erano tutti molto giovani e molto inesperti.
And Swamiji treated us with so much grace and respect and kindness.
E Swami ci ha trattato con così tanta gentilezza, grazia e rispetto.
I always think of great masters and great avatars with their followers, trying to get them to see, to understand, to live according to God's will and God's grace.
Quando penso ai grandi maestri che cercano di insegnare ai propri discepoli come vivere sperimentando la grazia divina.
And of course that's what they're doing. But we are so not there yet. And the patience and the compassion to stay with people that don't understand or can't understand, it proves the love of God for all of us.
E quando penso a tutti noi discepoli che ancora non siamo a quel livello dove i maestri vogliono portarci, comprendo quanta pazienza devono avere i maestri per accompagnarci pian piano, passo dopo passo, lì in quello stato dove ci vogliono portare.
And I think I remember 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗧𝗦𝗧𝗘𝗣𝗦, who was Master's foremost woman disciple.
E quando penso alla sorella 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗙𝗓, che era una discepola del maestro,
I remember her saying, what I appreciate the most about Master is that he created me, 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗙𝗓.
lei diceva sempre che quello che apprezzava di più del maestro era che aveva creato lei stessa, aveva creato 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗙𝗓.
And what I love about Swamiji is that he created me, Uma.
E quello che io amo di Swamiji è che ha creato me, Uma.
And don't think for a moment that if you didn't know Swamiji in this life, that you therefore missed something.
E non pensate neanche per un momento che se non avete incontrato Swami in questa vita in qualche modo avete perso qualcosa.
Because as 𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗓 said, he's not gone. His consciousness and his vibration is still here if you tune in.
Perché come 𝗪𝗔𝗓 ha detto, lui non se n'è andato, la sua vibrazione, la sua coscienza sono ancora qui, basta solamente sintonizzarsi con queste.
He's still with us. He's still alive. Because it's the consciousness that counts.
Lui è ancora qui, è ancora con noi perché quello che conta è la sua coscienza.
It's the vibration that counts.
È la vibrazione che conta.
It's the lifetime that he lived that counts.
È la vita che ha vissuto che conta.
And you're touched by him when you come to Ananda. He created Ananda.
E quindi in qualche modo siete toccati da lui anche solo quando venite ad Ananda, perché lui ha creato Ananda.
And all the people in it.
E tutte le persone che sono qui.
And when I think of following in his footsteps, it's very, very simple. Not necessarily easy, but very, very simple.
E quando penso al seguire i suoi passi è semplice, non facile, ma semplice.
Live as he did.
Vivi come ha vissuto lui.
And you can find out how that is by reading his books.
E puoi capire come fare leggendo i suoi libri.
All of his teachings, all the things we share with you, come from Master to Swamiji to us.
Tutto ciò che voi leggete, tutto ciò che noi insegniamo viene dal maestro e poi è passato attraverso Swamiji ed è arrivato a noi.
Live the teachings.
Vivete gli insegnamenti.
All of Master's teachings.
Gli insegnamenti di tutti i maestri.
Swamiji's discipleship
E il discepolato di Swami
is tuning into Guru in a long rhythm for your life, but also in the moment, when whatever you're doing.
è sintonizzarsi con il maestro sicuramente in tutta la vita, ma anche nei singoli momenti, qualsiasi cosa stiamo facendo.
I remember him giving a speech once, Swamiji, and he was talking about a fellow disciple at SRF.
Ricordo una volta Swami stava facendo un discorso e parlava di un condiscepolo della SRF.
And he said, I take back what I just said. I feel Master isn't pleased with me in my heart, in the middle of a talk.
E nel bel mezzo di questo discorso, mentre stava, dopo aver affermato qualcosa, ha subito detto no, ritiro quello che ho detto perché sento che il maestro non è contento. E questo è avvenuto proprio nel mezzo del discorso.
So, remembering Master in every moment.
Quindi ricordare il maestro in ogni momento.
Feel in your heart, is he pleased with me, my actions, my words, my thoughts, or no?
Sentire nel cuore, il Maestro è contento di me, delle mie azioni, delle mie parole, dei miei pensieri oppure no.
This is what Swami did.
Questo è quello che Swami ha fatto.
And finally, yes, he was a guide and a friend to all of us
E lui è stato un amico e una guida per tutti quanti noi,
that knew him.
per tutti noi che lo abbiamo conosciuto.
But he was also a friend to everyone, going
Ma era anche un amico per tutti quanti.
on trips with Swamiji was always an adventure.
Andare a fare un viaggio con Swami era sempre un'avventura.
Because he would greet everyone, in a cafe, in a shop. He'd greet them like he knew them all his life.
Perché salutava chiunque in un negozio, in un caffè, come se fossero persone che facevano parte della sua vita da sempre.
But sincerely so, such that people responded, "Do I know you? Have I met you before?"
Ed era così sincero che le persone gli rispondevano: ma ci conosciamo già, ti ho già incontrato?
Because he was sincerely giving his heart to people.
Perché lui dava con grande sincerità il suo cuore alle persone.
And finally, again, when finally, that's 3 finalies I've said. Okay, Swamiji, I will finish this time. He said, "If you want to know me, listen to my music."
E lui alla fine ha detto: se volete veramente conoscermi, ascoltate la mia musica.
And we just heard the choir sing 3 beautiful pieces of his music.
E infatti abbiamo sentito 3 bellissimi pezzi cantati dal coro.
So listen to his music.
Quindi
Get to know him well.
ascoltate la sua musica e lo conoscerete ancora meglio.
He called his music, just to say, sermons in song.
Lui chiamava la sua musica sermoni in canzoni.
So thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, everyone. God
Grazie
bless you.
Swami, grazie a tutti.
Parlando della musica di Swami,
And about Swami's music, let's chant together.
io sono tuo,
I am thine.
sulla pagina.
Facciamo Teresa.
Page 59.
Sono tuo, io sono tuo, mio Signore. Io sono tuo, io sono tuo, mio Signore. Sii tu mio, sii tu mio, sii tu mio, mio Signore. Io sono tuo, mio Signore. Sii tu mio, sii tu mio, sii tu mio, mio Signore. Io sono tuo, mio Signore. Io sono
Namaste a tutti.
Namaste everyone.
Di questo canto ho due ricordi con Swami Kriyananda,
memories
questo
with
canto che
Swami
abbiamo appena
about this
cantato.
chant that
Una
we have
volta
just chanted.
abbiamo fatto, non
Once,
so se conoscete, nella nostra
I don't know
comunità,
if you know
uno
in
si
our
chiama Bhima,
community,
ed era la
Bhima.
inaugurazione
It
della
was
casa
the
di Bhima.
inauguration of
E
Bhima's
io
house.
ero sempre chitarrista,
And
facevo
of
sempre i
course I was
canti,
playing guitar,
ma non
like
sempre forse così bene.
always, but maybe I
Perché
didn't
eravamo
always
seduti
do
lì
it
tutti insieme
well.
e
We were
abbiamo
sitting all
cantato
together,
e io ho
chanting,
cantato
and I
con
was
tutti, volevo fare festa,
chanting, and
io sono
and I
tuo,
was
sono
chanting,
tuo.
I am thine, I wanted
Ed è
to
arrivato
make
Swami
like a
Kriyananda
feast, and Swami
e
arrived.
me lo ricordo sempre, è
I
entrato,
remember him
fatto
entering,
così. Io sono
saying,
tuo,
I
sono
am
tuo,
thine, I
sono
am
tuo.
thine.
Veramente cantava a Dio, perché questi
Truly
canti non vanno
chanting to
cantati
God,
così,
because
facciamo
this
festa,
chant
ma
cannot
veramente
be
è un'offerta a
chanted
Dio.
that
E
just to
lui
make
cantava
feast.
così.
It's an
A
offer
volte
to
noi
God, and
l'abbiamo
this is
visto
the way
qui
he chants.
alla cerimonia,
Sometimes we saw him here during the
cantava e
Sunday
piangeva,
service,
veramente era un canto
chanting
come
and
si deve.
crying because he
Seconda storia
chanted from
con
his
questo
heart.
canto,
The second memory
ve la
that I
faccio
have
breve.
about this chant, and make it short,
Swami Kriyananda con 𝗓𝗡𝗪𝗏𝗡
with
era
Helmut and
due
Maya
nostri
Devi,
insegnanti tedeschi,
who are
era
two
in
German
Germania
teachers.
a fare
They
il tour
were
della Germania
with Swami.
e la macchina si è
They were in
rotta a
Germany for a
Francoforte
tour, and the
dove
car was broken in
vivono i
Frankfurt,
genitori di Maya
where
Devi,
Maya
di lei.
Devi's parents lived.
E la macchina si
So
era rotta, hanno
the car was
chiamato
broken,
giù, serve urgentemente una
and,
macchina perché non la
so
possiamo
they
riparare. E
called
quindi hanno
someone
scelto
saying
me di andare su
we needed a
a
car.
portare la
They called
macchina.
here in Ananda, so
E
I
tutto il
left
viaggio ero tanto
Ananda and
ispirato perché
drove
adesso
up to Germany with a
vado da
new
Swami
car,
Kriyananda,
and I was so
eccetera, vedo mio
inspired.
padre
Say, oh,
spirituale
now I will see Swami
qui
Kriyananda, my
e
spiritual
vado a
father.
Francoforte.
So I reached
Sono
Frankfurt.
arrivato a
I
cena
arrived to the dinner.
ed ero seduto
I
accanto
was
a Swami
sitting
Kriyananda.
at the side of Swami.
E i genitori di Maya Devi sono persone molto colte, sono dottori di alto rango e super. E Swami Kriyananda era aveva letto 1000 libri, sapeva 1000 cose di mille cose su 1000 cose. E quindi ha parlato della politica, della storia, dell'arte, della questa e di quella. E io ero accanto a lui e ho detto, non avete capito con chi siamo, perché non possiamo parlare di cose che toccano più l'anima. E in questo momento, quando nessuno ha guardato, hanno parlato tra di loro, lui si è girato a me e con un sussurro ha detto, io sono tuo, sono tuo. E voleva dire, non importa di cosa parli, dentro di te puoi essere sempre con Dio. La cosa che mi ha toccato, vorrei parlare di due cose soprattutto che sono per me le sue orme, per noi. Lui era un vero yogi e noi se vogliamo andare nelle sue orme, secondo la mia comprensione dobbiamo andare in profondità, perché quando lui parlava di Dio, del divino, era autentico, perché era in questo flusso di grazia.
So often I felt something very elevating sometimes when I was I was having with my wife Sahaja, we had meals with him, so sitting at the same table at the restaurant or at his home for fondue or something like that. And by the way, I'm not one of the oldest here. I'm not even one of the youngest. I'm one of the middle. I was here from 1989 onward with Swami. So I had this feeling, this call for India, and once I had a click in my mind, so I went into the dining room and Swami was sitting there, and I told him, I don't want to go to India anymore because you are my India. And he said, yes. He never presented himself as a guru, but for me he was like a father. For example, he gave us many things. For example, this is from him. I also had a coat which was called Bruno coat because it was too big for me and everybody was kidding me because he said it was something that I could grow in. So I had this very big coat which I wore for many, many years. And so not only, he was father not only for the gifts, but because he gave. And before giving to me the spiritual name, he always called me Bruno. I don't know why he called me Bruno. And then once I asked him, what do you call me Bruno? Maybe another life, and he said, maybe, who knows? He was the most touching thing for me, and what I want to carry on is that he was extremely shy, and I was very shy, and I have a very low self-esteem, and Swami, like Rudra said, he saw inside of me behind what I saw about myself. Here in Ananda, for example, Gitanjali remembers when I fought with people and in a bad way, also with the director and Swami Kriyananda arrived. He invited us at the restaurant, and Shantidev was with us as well. And some of us, we were 22, 23. And he turned, I was sitting at his side, and he turned to me and said, I was Boris at that time. He told me, Bruno or Boris, I don't remember, you are a jewel. And these words said from a person like him, it's very strong. He was a real father, a father who loved his son. And so it was not only through the gift that I also Shantidev received some clothes from Swami, and so he showed through this his love as a father. He believed in us, and he told us things which showed us that he saw beyond, and these are the footsteps which I want to carry on. And sometimes I see my students, maybe they don't behave well, they are not perfect like we all are. So I try to see inside of them what is behind, because it is what Swami taught to me, and this is what helped me to get to heal from a strong insecurity which I had, because he believed in me. Many times he invited me to be the guardian of his house, and so he was not only a human father but also a spiritual father. When I was at his home, because he was traveling somewhere, so I was the guardian of the house. I was so lucky that I had 2 weeks of vacation, so that I spent there, and I was so absorbed into the energy of his house, and it became so strong, so that if I just closing my eyes, I was carried in a very expanded state, which was very hard for me to be in that state. And then at a certain moment, I switched on the music, the newest music he wrote, and I was stood up, and I started dancing and dancing because of this energy which I felt inside of me coming from him. And then I reached him, and we had 2 rooms. We were in a hotel. We had 2 rooms which were close by. So I went out of my room in the morning, and in the same moment he went out of his room and he smiled at me and said, "Ah, you like my house, don't you?" Sometimes I didn't behave very well, and sometimes he scolded me very tough. Once we were doing a fair, he was with us, and there were a man saying, "I'm disciple of Yogananda, I channel Yogananda, what I do with people is hypnosis." I don't know, if you studied Yogananda's teachings, he says that hypnosis is a crime and you can't do it because it's a kind of manipulation on people. So it's very dangerous. So this man was affirming so, and I was very tough, and I said, "What you do is really terrible. You are crazy." I was very, very tough with him. And the following day at breakfast, there was a big table with many people. I was sitting again near Swami, and I told the adventure of the day before. "Oh, this man says he channels Yogananda and he hypnotizes people." So I said this and that. In that moment, Swami turned and he said, you can't hurt people like this, never ever." And he was so strong, and those words told by him, I was just paralyzed. I was off. I was unable to speak and to move, and I was in silence. I had the whole breakfast in silence. Then he went to his car after breakfast, and then again he turns around, comes to me, and he gives me his stick. So what is this? And then I understood it was just a way to show his love. Here is my stick. Of course, I gave it back to him. It was just a way to show I'm your father. So this is what Swami was for me, a father. And on a higher level, more and more, I understand who he was, little by little. Once, when I go to India in 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗠, which is in a holy place, there I receive huge gifts, and there I could see who was Swami beyond the appearance. So now when I relate to Swami, it's not like I did before. It's not the person for me. What remains, it's his eyes, because behind those eyes there was a very still, silent consciousness. And still nowadays, there are these eyes with me, which are silent, in silence and impersonal. So what I try to do is to go there, to live there. Little by little, I try to understand deeper and deeper who Swami Kriyananda was, because what is with me is not only the stories, which are nice, of course, but is this consciousness. He went away but Swami Kriyananda didn't change. What he was before is still now. Like Uma said, he hasn't gone. He is consciousness, and we could see this consciousness in his eyes, which were so still, impersonal, silent. I can go on and on. Okay, one last story. My brother died many years ago. I called Swami Kriyananda, and then the Kirtani were with him in that moment. And I said, my brother died in France, in the mountains. And Swami told me, I will pray for you. So I sat on my bed, and I was ashamed because this tragedy was just happened, and I felt a wave of joy which came into me. I was in joy. In that terrible moment, I was in joy. And I knew that it was Swami Kriyananda sending me this joy. So I went to the funeral. And then I came back, and Swami looked at me with his eyes and told me, oh, what a terrible thing. But his eyes told me something different. Through his eyes, he was telling me there is no death. There is infinite consciousness behind the body which dies. This is Swami for me, a consciousness. Thank you.
Cantiamo il canto 𝗬𝗓𝗡𝗓.
Let's chant 𝗬𝗓𝗡𝗓, page 75. with friends in the temple, wherever, I always touch some chord of the heart, so I try to make it. Very recently, just some days ago, I met a friend which I didn't see since many years. It's such a special person. We are very deep friends. We didn't meet each other since years because we meet in different countries. And we started talking about the last years, our growth, our challenges. At a certain point, we told each other, oh, how beautiful that after so many years, we have so much love for one for each other. And at a certain point, he stops and says, but you know, this love that I feel for you, my goal in life is to feel this love for every single people that I met. And so in that moment, it's like if a seed that was planted 11 years ago by Swami started to see the light. It's like when in the movie there are some flashbacks. So in my head, it's like if the time was stopped and I went backward in this very very precious memory of a moment that I lived with Swami. There was a period in which I was part of the team which was filming Finding Happiness, the movie on the Ananda communities. And that period we were filming here in Italy. And so Swami was here, of course. And there is an interview in the movie where behind him you can see the Basil of St. Francis. So I arrived there before and I prepared his chair, water, something that I knew that they were needed by him. Then I was doing something, I don't know what, touching something on the ground. I felt that something in the field, that the vibration of the field that was changing, and I felt that Swamiji was arriving, because when he arrived in a place on the energetical level, everything changed. So I was looking up and I saw him coming, help with a person, help by someone. But my whole focus was on Swami, because when he saw me, somehow, even if his sight was not very well, I knew he saw me, and his face just turned in light. And in that very moment, I felt something that 𝗙𝗓𝗘𝗙𝗕 said. I was filled with pure love. I was floating into this love. In that moment of my life, I thought that I was not enough to deserve this love. But this love was so impersonal, without any judgment, just for who you are into the world. So while he was walking toward me, I felt in that very moment he was my father, my mother, my brother, my friend. Just love everything. So in that moment, something moved inside of me, and I thought, this is what I want in my life. And this feeling was what pushed me to stay attached on the spiritual path. And from that moment on, the spiritual research became more strong. And so going back to my friend and what he told me, it's like if in these 10 years inside of me the seed told me I want to have what Swami had, and along these 10 years I did my best to feel this inside of me. But of course, when you have such a high experience, everything, it's really hard to reach it again. But I never had the idea that this love should be shared with others, that I had to love others the same way. So 10 years later, finally, after almost 11 years, this click happened inside of me. This Swami was giving to me his love, sharing his love to me, and everything he felt, everything he had, his divine love he shared with me. And so following, walking on Swami's footsteps is before my idea of walking in his footsteps was feeling that love inside of me. But since some days ago it became that I have to share this love with others. So loving, trying at least to love everyone same way. So it's an evolution, you know. Swami is always Swami, but my consciousness is changing, is growing. So my footsteps on Swami's footsteps are growing, increasing. So I want to end with these words. This morning I was listening to the last letter that Swami wrote for the Easter day, his last letter. And what he writes down is very interesting because he had no more earthly attachments. What he wanted was just to take all of us with him, because he didn't want to stay into this world anymore. And he said, it doesn't mean I don't love you, because I love you and I will love forever that part of you which is eternally real. And so now this is what is for me following Swami, from feeling love, sharing love, being love. Thank you, Benedetta. And as he mentioned the last speech of Swami Kriyananda, we will watch the last minutes of this speech, which was a very precious moment and deeply touching and inspiring. So let's look at it together.
Preghiamo insieme. Madre Divina, io sono tuo figlio, buono o cattivo, io sono tuo, aiutami a conoscerti. Amen. Però, se Dio lo vuole, io sono contento di continuare questa vita. E soprattutto perché vi amo sinceramente. Voglio il tuo benessere spirituale. La mia vita è stata dedicata a servire Dio e mio Guru e aiutare gli altri a conoscere chi siete voi. Voi non siete persone peccatori, non lo siete. Sì, potete peccare, però l'uomo è un figlio di Dio. E Yogananda ha detto che un santo è un peccatore che non si è mai dato per vinto. E questo dovete, anche se avete peccato molte volte, voi siete il suo figlio e alla fine avete soltanto una missione, di trovare Dio e rimergere in Lui. Una volta Yogananda è andato a un, come si dice, revivalist meeting. How do you say that in Italian? Dai cristiani fondamentali. E questa donna ha detto: voi siete tutti peccatori, mettiti sulle ginocchia. E Yogananda ha detto: io ero l'unica persona lì che non si era inginocchiato, perché non volevo ammettere che sono peccatore. E voi dovete anche dire: io non sono peccatore, anche se pesco. Pecco? Pecco. È bello venire ai miei discorsi perché faccio tanti sbagli. Non siete peschi. Anche se voi sbagliate molte volte, voi siete all'interno figli di Dio. Gesù ha detto, è più benedetto dare che ricevere. È vero. E se tu non lo credi, provano. E se è difficile, vedi le altre vite degli altri. Io ho fatto un bel esposizione di diapositivi che ho fatto io, delle persone in tutto il mondo. E tu vedi che le uniche persone che hanno un viso veramente felice è coloro che amano servire gli altri, amano vivere per gli altri, amano non pensare a se stessi, ma agli altri. La gioia è l'unica cosa che tutti cercano. Ogni uomo nel mondo vuole la felicità, è vero, no? Tu cerchi e finalmente tu trovi che aiutare gli altri, amare Dio, avere ideali nella vita. Tu trovi a poco che queste sono le cose che ti danno più gioia. E quando cerchi questa felicità, tu troverai la gioia. E nel trovare la gioia tu troverai una beatitudine che è eterna. Questo è tuo. Io voglio niente più di questo per tutti voi. Vi amo in questo e tu devi amare tutti e nell'amore di Dio, perché Lui ti ama. Se tu capissi quanto Lui ti ama, tu moriresti di gioia? Io non posso rimanere, allora continuate voi.
On your chairs you can find this little paper, because now it's our turn to think, how do we feel inspired by everything that we heard, and how to keep on walking in Swami's footsteps. So you can see on the back of the card there are Swami's footprints. You can write down something. It is something that you are not going to share with anybody, only with Swami, so you can feel what you want to offer to him, what do you want to dedicate to him. What do you feel? What inspires you so that you keep on walking on his light? So take a moment so that we can write down something, and then we do our offer in front of the original print of his footprints, and there is on the front of the card there is a quote from Swami, which says, "May I spend my days so that I can leave my footprints on the sand of the time." And behind you can write down what you feel inspired. write down what you feel. I invite some people of the communities to share briefly what do they want to offer to Swami. And then, after this sharing, each one can take the little candle. You can switch it on here, this candle on right and left, and then one after the other we can place all the candles in front of Swami, thinking maybe to the words to the promise that you write down, and offering to Swami whatever you feel in your heart to offer. The way you can keep on walking in Swamiji's footsteps. Okay, so I start. My promise for Swami, what I want to dedicate to him, is to always have an open window in my consciousness for him. Because as Uma said, there are two ways to get in tune with these great masters. One is in a long term, but another way is to stay in tune with them every single moment. And I feel that I will like more and more feeling Swami in every decision, in every word, in every moment of my life. So walking in his light. The way I would like to walk in Swami's footsteps is giving others the same friendship that he gave. Because when there was someone in front of him, that was the most important person, because he saw not only the person, but he was so interested into their reality, to see God in other people. And besides, I also feel that I want to feel his alive presence, because there are moments when even when he was in his body, there were moments in which you could feel this this endless consciousness, endless joy. In other moments, it was not so easy. So what I want to do is to perceive, to stay in that alive, living presence. What I feel that I want to do to follow Swami's footsteps is to do what he did, treating people with kindness and compassion. This is what I want to learn to do. Offering my friendship with kindness and compassion. Swami had big, big, big footsteps, divine footsteps, while my feet are very, very little. But my feet are yours, Swami. With these little feet, take me wherever you like and I will follow you. I want to thank Swami for his example of how to believe, how to have faith, how to feel Master's presence, God's presence in your life continuously, this truth. And this way being free and be free of the limiting belief, I am not able, I cannot do this. Despite of my limitation, with this presence, everything is possible. So I want to be open so that this grace and friendship, power can flow through me and manifest what I think it's impossible, but it is not. I want to commit myself to offer Swami words full of truth, universal love, impersonal, that can touch the heart of many people. And I want to be the channel, the little channel through which his light can flow. I thank Swami because he touched my heart so deeply in a way that nobody else before could do. He transmitted to me a sweetness, such a deep love, which I never felt before. So it's hard, even if it's really hard, I truly hope I can be able to do the same with others.
I may go far, farther than the stars. I may go far, farther than the stars.
When I read Autobiography of a Yogi, it was a grace, and I understood. So I understood that I wanted to have the Kriya Yoga initiation, but it's thanks to Swami's work, I could obey to the law. I would practice, and through all the people that he created, like Uma said, that I could go very deep and to become to become someone else, to take a new opposite direction, moving toward joy and clarity. So I want to offer what I want to become, a channel like all the people who are here and supported me with friendship, and for the others who can find this direction.
Devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be there.
So now it's up to all of us. There is no need to talk, but offer mentally, like people did, like people shared here. You can take the light here on the altar, offering to Swami what you feel in your heart, so that you can receive the blessing from Swami and all the masters, and also your commitment can be blessed, and so that every day, little by little, we can walk on the footsteps of these great souls.
I may go far, farther than the stars. I may go far, farther than the stars. But I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may go, devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. When I die, look into mine eyes. When I die, look into mine eyes. They will mutely say, I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. I may go far, farther than the stars. I may go far, farther than the stars, but I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may go, devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. When I die, look into mine eyes. When I die, look into mine eyes. They will mutely say, I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. Hari मैं तेरा हमेशा, हरि मैं तेरा हमेशा. दूर मैं जाऊं तारों में रहूं, दूर मैं जाऊं तारों में रहूं. लेकिन मैं तेरा हमेशा, हरि मैं तेरा हमेशा। भक्त जन आवे, भक्त जन जावे, भक्त जन आवे, भक्त जन जावे, लेकिन
casa mia, portami l'amore.
portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa tua, portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Sri Yogananda, guida l'infinito, vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Vieni nella casa mia, portami l'amore. Vieni nella casa mia, portami
Metti la tua concentrazione per un attimo nel cuore e prova a percepire questo amore, questa presenza divina, proprio le orme di luce
The light footsteps
nel tuo cuore.
in your heart. And then try to consciously expand, radiate this life, this light, this love until the whole world is floating, is permeated by this love. And let's end this evening chanting 3 ohms, trying to feel this love in every heart of every single person in this world. Thank you, everyone. May we all keep walking into Swamiji's footsteps and all the Masters' footsteps.